This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Hello, America, and welcome to the #1 radio station in all of Fort Myers Beach. Beach Talk Radio. Here are your hosts, Kim and Ed Wright.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Mondays with the Mayor. It's episode number 23. A lot to talk about this week with Dan. And before we get to that, I want to let you know our show tonight is sponsored in part by Liberty Roofing and Construction, your trusted roofing company. They are certified to provide the industry-leading manufacturer's total system 50-year warranty. And your roof will be done within 30 days of when your permit is issued. Clean property guarantee, industry-leading workmanship, and you can receive a free assessment by calling 401 Roofing. Call Patrick McKenna at 401-439-9585. Also, Mike Bannock is still out there knocking things down and picking things up. He's doing your demolition, your debris removal, interior, exterior demo, lot leveling. He'll cap off your utilities for your permitting. You can give him a call at 352-636-3719. He's done a lot of work for folks that watch the show and follow the show. So give Mike Bannock a call again at 352-636-3719. And for those of you that have been trying to buy some of the fishing poles for the kids camp that Jeff is putting on at Bay Oaks and at the Mound House, there was an issue with the red pole. So if you go back in there now, you can purchase the blue fishing pole and complete those donations. And hopefully we'll be dropping them off this weekend so that the camp can have all the fishing poles that they need. Welcome to the show, Dan.
How are you?
Good. Doing great. Now, before we get down to the...
Before you start, I have to ask for help.
Okay.
I don't do that very often, but I figured I better do it here, see who can help. So you see this cabinet handle, right? For your normal kitchen cabinet. Anyone that knows where to find a 7-inch stainless steel with 3 3/4 inch center to center, here to here, handles that look like this, please let me know where I can find them. I cannot find them anywhere, and we're short some for our cabinets, so I need to find some. So if you can help me, they look like this, just your typical rod, stainless steel. 7-inch, 3 3/4 center to center. All right, thanks.
So, by the way,
charge for that?
You can't buy that. You can only tell us where Dan can buy that, just to make things clear. Yes. No gifts are allowed. So
no, just tell me where I could find them.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find them when I can't find them.
Right, and please send me a picture of that because I'm sure we'll be able to get links to it after the show.
Yep.
So before we get started on some of the things, yesterday I went to the town. It was yesterday to the town council meeting. Now I've been doing this show with Kim for 5 years, and I've done a radio show. I was on the Big Mama show. I get in front of the runners on Saturday for an hour announcing the whole thing, and it's all completely fine. I go to the town council meeting to speak for less than 3 minutes, and I prepared my speech. I feel like I'm going to hyperventilate. I start sweating. I start stuttering. I have no idea why that one spot where I'm standing in front of 7 people that I know and have known for years makes me hyperventilate. It's the oddest thing.
I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy it a little bit. It is fun watching you. I've never seen you uncomfortable, but every time you get up there to speak, you just, and it's something, if you don't do it all the time, it's just very awkward and it feels weird, but
yeah, you watch these people get in front of the school board, and the way the school board thing is set up, they're like gods because they put them up on like 7 feet, 8 feet up in the air, and they're just looking down. And the minute you go over that 2 minutes or 3 minutes, they shut your microphone off. So you got to get it in. That's intimidating. But in the Diamond Head thing, it's so not intimidating. It's just the weirdest thing. I sit down, I feel like I peed my pants or something. Like it's running down my leg.
Yeah, and there's nothing intimidating about us. I mean, we're sitting at folding tables with black skirting. nothing to be intimidated about. But you were speaking very quickly to try to get through whatever it is
Yeah.
you were trying to say.
Yeah, stuttering and the whole thing. All right, so the first, obviously, last night was a big deal. I mean, a packed house. I know they had to turn people away at Diamond Head. I mean, at Pink Shell, to talk about the Moss Marina project. It's on everybody's mind. It's a big project. So, what did you think about the presentation?
Well, I've been involved in the first couple of I've seen three completely separate things now. So it's the presentation was very similar. There was a little more in-depth detail. I like the fact that they showed better renderings and some flyovers and things like that people were able to attach to. But this one looks completely different than the last two that I saw. So I wasn't shocked. With these projects, things go through a lot of iterations that this may not be exactly what could or could not be approved at the end. So we'll see how it progresses. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so get into the nitty gritty of the town's rules. Does what they presented last night fit into the land development code and the town's comprehensive plan? Does it fit in the way it is now?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, there was no real details given. There's no heights given. There's no FAR. There's, the details, the devil's in the details, and we don't know the details. So it's hard for me to say. I could tell you the way that they're zoned. They're zoned marina, and what it looks like on paper doesn't look like it would fit within that zoning. But again, this is going to be a long process. There's going to have to be some things that have to be adjusted, some rezoning and things like that to make this work. But I thought they did a good presentation. I think the feedback, there's obviously a lot of people there. They were turning people away. So it was nice to see that people turned out. It was nice to see some of the comments, and positive and negative, because that helps leads you in the right direction to make decisions when it does finally come before us.
So it's zone marina now, which means by right they're allowed 0 rooms.
Yeah, honestly, I can't speak to that specifically. I didn't get a chance today to look up all the exact requirements or allowable things through the marina, but I don't believe that the way it looks, it would fit within the current zoning.
Okay, so they would have to get a zoning change to downtown district or something like that to start, and then go from there. Correct?
Yeah, my guess is they're probably going to want to go to what's around there, pedestrian, commercial, something like that, which would make sense. Then you can look at that, but my guess is it's probably going to have to go through the CPD process to be able to ask.
What is that? What is CPD process? So people know.
Commercial plan development.
Okay.
So they could go through and depending on what they need, depending on whatever the numbers are, they can ask for that. And then, the LPA staff will go through that. Then they'll make recommendations and it'll come to council, and we'll weigh the pros and cons. And, it might not be that they need to ask for anything. We don't know the numbers yet. So it's really hard to comment as to what it's going to look like. Is it going to have to change? Will it fit? Won't it fit? Depending on how it goes. But just by the looks of it, marina is not going to be the zoning that they'll be able to use to get that done.
Right. So, I mean, I thought the best part of the presentation last night was that video where they showed, you could really see the different elements of, the stepping up and the stepping down and seeing the water. I mean, if you're in favor of the project, that video really was an eye catcher. I mean, you look at the aerial view and it looks really big. Then you look at the video and you can see the different elements of what could be a little community.
Yeah, it's definitely a beautiful project. Whether it fits within what's allowed in our comp plan and land development code is a whole nother story, and that's the stuff we'll have to work through and get the numbers and figure out. But it's impressive to see that someone's thinking outside the box, if you will, and trying to come up with something that is usable for both them and for the community. So I certainly like the way it looks. Not necessarily the size or better than looking at a boat barn. I will give them that. I know they said that several times, but at the end of the day, we have codes and rules we have to follow, and they're entitled to do what they need to do, and we're bound to do what we have to do, and we'll see where it goes from here. Again, without knowing the numbers, it looked like, just in the video, it looked like they were going above and beyond, in my opinion, just by looking at the video, in the resiliency factor about raising the building higher to help with flooding and future things, to make sure it doesn't get damaged or torn down in any potential future storm, God forbid. So these are all pros and cons, and we'll work through them as they bring it forward. It sounds like they're moving forward with the design, and we'll let staff do their work, and then the LPA do their work, and then we'll do our work.
One of the things, if we're just being honest here between us, one of the, I mean, obviously Ben, a big community guy, he's been there forever. His family's been there forever. He wants to transform something into, the future down in that area. But I have to be honest, I thought the traffic guy was just full of malarkey, man. I mean, I don't know if maybe he could explain where he came up with those, the 3 hotels wouldn't really impact the traffic. I mean, I don't think anybody in that room bought that.
Yeah, it was similar again to the first time I heard that. It wasn't far off. Again, it's a numbers thing. How you can really track that. I'm not a specialist or an expert in that, so it's really hard for me to say how you can calculate things down to a per trip thing. And that's why we have experts that tell us about that. But we already know we have a traffic issue. We've had a traffic issue for decades. It's not like it's something new. The discussion is definitely going to come up. Is this going to make it worse? Is it going to make it better? Is it going to have no impact at all? So I'm looking forward to the discussions. Again, I'm all for trying to beautify an area, and if it makes sense in an area, then let's move forward. But we have to work out the details. There's still a lot of details that aren't out there for anybody to even know, including myself. So until we know that, until they put forth a plan, you have to have a plan to really have an opinion. So until you see a formalized plan, then you can really start to look at the nuts and bolts of it and see, does it work? Can it work? What needs to be changed to make it work? Things like that.
You obviously you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, or if you don't know the answer. The number 400 rooms seems to be the number that Ben says they need to have in order to make it financially work for them. I mean, obviously it costs a lot of money to put that kind of project together. Do you think that's a rock solid number, or that's a negotiating spot for them?
That would be something for them to answer. I mean, I don't know what the dollars and cents are. I don't know what the total square footage is, of what they owe, and how that goes into the calculations for, the rooms per acre and what zone it's in and the multipliers. And there's a lot of things that have to go into that. But when it comes down to what is cost effective to make it worth it for them, that's something they'd have to speak to. I can't do that. We're elected to uphold the land development code and, the land and the comp plan as it's written. If there needs to be adjustments to that, then it goes through the process through the LPA and the council. And if the majority think it's worth changing for whatever reason or not changing, then that's the way you go. But the financial viability of it is not a concern, at least in my opinion, or something that is something that I have to weigh in on.
From the people that on the town council and the LPA, especially the LPA, did you see something the way it was presented last night getting through the LPA?
Again, I mean, that's the same question, just asked a different way. I don't know. It's without knowing, again, what the numbers are, what the calculations are. It's all about numbers and the zoning. So how does that relate to the comp plan and to the land development code? But those are all things. What are they going to put forth in a CPD, which I'm guessing is the way that they're going to have to go with this. But what's going to come forth in that? What is going to be the ask? Those are all uncertainties that we don't really know. So it's really hard to comment on whether I think it's going to go one way or the other, or it's a good thing or bad thing. And, having nothing is never a good thing. Having something that potentially could help an area is always a good thing. So, a plain piece of dirt is not as good as something that a house or something else, if you will.
Is a water ferry?
But there we go.
Yeah, is a water ferry something that that you think is something that will work?
Well, sure. I mean, the ferries have been around forever. I don't think it's just a matter of working out the logistics. How do you get it on board? Where do you drop them off? Who's going to operate it? And there's the unknown of people. Do you want to, if you're coming into the airport, do you want to get in a cab or a taxi or an Uber and sit in traffic, or do you want to get on a boat? Personally, if it's me, I'd rather get on a boat and go for a little boat ride along the back bay and get to where I need to go. If it's the same amount of time, I'd rather be on the water than in a car. But that's just me. So there's a lot of logistics involved with that, and I think they said last night that they're working through that to see how that would work, if it will work at all. So there's, again, another one of those unknowns. We're still very early in this process.
Nancy asked kind of a good, not kind of, she asked a good question. Because there was a little bit of a debate at the end there, I think, with Mike from the Whale and with Ben about the number of rooms lost. It could have been somebody else, maybe not Mike, but do we know how many rooms were lost on the island? I know 6,000 was a number that was thrown around, but I think that might have been Lee County.
Yeah, I honestly I don't know. That's really the first I heard about that number. I mean, I know that Ben had referred to that number briefly in one of my other meetings with him. I haven't spent any time, quite honestly, looking to see if that's how that number relates. Is that Airbnb? Is it condos? Is it just hotel rooms within Lee County? I don't know the specifics as to where that number comes from. I haven't had a chance to talk with Ben to figure out how him and his team came up with that number. But I don't believe the town has a specific number as to how many hotel rooms. I always say this with any kind of technology: garbage in, garbage out. The information is only good as what you put in. So if nobody's reporting it or over-reporting, I see the question there. Does 3 rooms count as, a 3-bedroom house count as 3 rooms?
Who knows, right?
Who knows?
Yeah.
I think it could be very easily through, the TDC, and I think they have some numbers to be able to figure out, hotel rooms, how many are lost. But the Airbnb part of it is very, very hard to calculate. Do people report? Don't they report? So that's a number that's very hard to track. But hotel rooms, I think, should be fairly easy because most hoteliers are going to want to report, what they're down, what their room rates are. So it helps you track to help know what you have to do to move forward.
One of the shows we're trying to set up is with presidents of HOAs on the island of condos to see they're all in different phases of trying to reopen and trying to rebuild and trying to figure out if they have to knock it down and who's going to get the first elevator that works or
Right.
Stuff like that. But I mean, and the first question is how many condos are on the island, and there's really no record of that. There's nowhere you can go look it up and find out how many. Maybe there is, and I missed it. But it'd be interesting to see, how those folks are going through the different challenges, what phase they're in before they can reopen, up to what floor can they reopen. I mean, what rules are there that you have to follow? Can you have one elevator? Different things like that.
Exactly. Well, that kind of stuff, I think, is dictated by the code and the fire district as to sprinkler systems, elevators, things like that. As far if I'm not mistaken, condos obviously they all have their own HOAs and they regulate their Airbnb part of what can be rented, how long it can be rented. That falls on the HOA if I'm not mistaken. And if I'm saying something inaccurate, I apologize and I'll correct it. But I believe that's how it works.
And one of the challenges that we found out trying to get people to come and do the show live at Wahoo Williams is that there just aren't anybody. There's nobody down here. I mean, not only are the condos closed, but it's off season, and so it's hard to find 3 or 4 HOA presidents that are actually in town to put that show together. So, did anything before we move on that you wanted to touch on there or no?
No, I think it was well
Okay.
covered, and if you're referring to the Moss Marine thing, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where it goes from here if they submit or when they submit, so we can actually start seeing some of the nuts and bolts and get down to the nitty gritty and see where we end up.
Yeah, the only other thing was at the end they did say this is a 2-year project. I mean that was kind of deflating. I mean, even no matter whether it's 400 rooms or 100 rooms or 50 rooms, whatever it turns out, to hear somebody say 200, I mean 2 years, it's like holy crap. But yeah, I mean I get it. It's a gigantic project, but it's like, oh man, 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. I mean that to me that sounds pretty aggressive. There's and a lot of these big things. Just look at Bay Oaks, for instance. There was a year in just design. Now, granted, it has to go through all the phases and the committees, and that does add some time to it. Whereas this is a individual owner that can make a decision on a design and move forward and go from there. But just a design can take you up to a year.
Jeez. All right, let's just hammer out a couple of the easy ones first. Any new news from last week on Town Hall?
No. So it was an interesting week. I figured out where it's at. So essentially, just to kind of give you what you may or may not already know, It's at its final stage. It's with the final number crunchers, if you will, of FEMA to give the final okay that it is indeed, not able to be rebuilt within the 50/50. The state's ready to go to tear it down. Our insurance company has given the all clear that it's got to come down. Our adjuster that came in has said their people have looked at it and said it's got to come down. The FEMA inspectors have looked at it, took their data, and it's now in the final. I can't remember their acronym for it, the CDC or something like that desk, where the final people have to put the final stamp on it that yes, it has to come down, and FEMA then can say yes, we'll pay for this much, that much. So we're waiting on that.
Okay, so really, there's no target date for when the ball comes and knocks it down. We're just every week we got to get a status update. It sounds like, right?
Well, I didn't get a chance today. I wanted to check on it. Today was a pretty busy day for both Andy and myself, so we didn't really get a chance to talk about where it was at. At the end of last week, we were told that we should hear something definitively by Friday. I have not seen that come across Friday of last week. Nothing has come across my email yet as there's been a final decision, but I'm going to follow up with that tomorrow to see, because like everyone else, we got this is holding up our progress, and we need to get moving on it.
So is there any understanding yet of where the town government might be? Can you make any progress on where you might go when the trailers expire, your lease with them expire, or the fire department expires? I mean, do you have a plan on where you're going to go?
Well, there's like one of three things. So again, and I see Holly's I don't want to use the F word because I know people hate when I say it, but you have to say it. It really depends. We have to provide three options to FEMA as far as cost, because they're reimbursing us for whatever it is we spend. So you have to present them three options, and whatever the lowest option is unless you can make it, my understanding is unless you can make a case why one of the other options makes more sense. So we're trying to put those together, whether it's in the trailers at the site we're on, our site, Bay Oaks, whether it's building another building, whether it's buying a building. I mean, those are essentially the three options. And what does it come down to per month, and with interest rates and all of that. So the finance department's working on that, and through Tidal Basin to get them that information. So they'll be able to tell us. It's all about obligation. Obligation is a big word that hopefully the people that pay attention or are doing the drinking game aren't using that as a word, but obligation is a big word.
So same deal for Bayside Park, same kind of process for that.
Yeah, we actually have Andy told me today, I think it's later this week, there's a meeting with the RMP to go out there and kind of look at it to get that scope of work together so we can put it out for bid. I believe Jason said at the meeting their kind of tentative goal is to try to get it out for bid on June 1st.
Oh, so if you were a betting man and you got the bids out on June 1st, when do you think it might be open?
Again, we don't know the time frame until they bid on it, but once you go through the procurement process, then you have to go to the council meeting to award the bid, and then I don't know how long it'll take. That's going to depend on who bids on it, but we're pushing that thing forward. It's one of what we call the low-hanging fruit to try to get done to get the process moving.
Right. Okay. So there was a question that was sent over to me today about what's going on with the land behind the old town hall building that the previous council purchased. What the plan back then was to put that upland facility there. So is there any plan for that property?
No, not at this point. It's right now we're working on getting an evaluation of the property to see exactly what it's worth. Just for no other reason than to have that as far as looking at options, what we can do, what we can't do. We're literally looking at every single option for that property. But at this time, there's no discussion about any kind of mooring field facilities there. This is.
Oh no, I don't think they meant that. I just thought that. I think they meant, was there any plan that you guys were discussing? I don't think they meant that.
No, and I did when I left today. I noticed some like red flags out there, but those red flags look like they're on the property. There's actually two other properties there next to the one that we bought behind Chapel by the Sea, and it looks like it might be on that middle property of those three that are there. I don't think it's on our property.
I
On the
see.
property that we own, it looks like there's just some sand there, some staging sand there within that black silk fencing. But those red flags look like they're on the other side of that.
Gotcha. Okay, so any update from FPL on the amber lights on Estero Boulevard?
No, I was going to try to go out tonight to see if I noticed any up. I did send a message today earlier to Charlotte Miller, who's our contact for FPL. She's going to reach out to Eric, who was the person that was there at the meeting to present the technical aspects of it, if you will. And she's going to get back to me tomorrow. So I'll update you as soon as I know if any have been put up, and if not, when.
Okay, well, they did say in front of a live studio audience that they were going to have them all installed by June 1st. I do remember them saying that.
I remember that as well.
It's May 16th now, so they must have a lot of people flipping out light bulbs when they send their staff out there.
Yeah, they made it sound like it wasn't, in our discussions before we had it in the council meeting, it made it sound like it wasn't it wasn't a difficult swap out. The power's there.
Yeah.
Just a matter of unscrewing a head. It's probably more technical than that, but taking it. I don't want to say unscrewing a light bulb and screwing another one in, because it's definitely not that easy. You got the road to block off and the boom up and the boom down. So there's some work to be involved, but hopefully tomorrow I'll get some more information from Charlotte.
So you guys on Monday added a little language to the RV ordinance where you want to make it clear that if you have an RV on your property, the reason you are allowed to have an RV is so that you can stay on your property, rebuild. You're not really supposed to be using it. Well, you're not supposed to be using it as a vacation rental, even if your previous home was a vacation rental. So somebody asked me, and I didn't send this one to you. It was a different one. Somebody asked me, let's say my neighbor doesn't have enough room on his property, but I'm not on my property. I got my house knocked down. Can he put a RV on my property and rebuild his home next door?
I've asked that question specifically.
Okay.
If you get the landowner's permission to put one trailer on their property because they're not going to be there, or they're not planning to rebuild right now, and you're the neighbor, as long as the property owner signs off on it, that's fine. But again, it's not for rental purposes. You can't put an RV on there to start renting out for Airbnb. Is kind of what came out of the meeting.
Now, if I know somebody on Fort Myers Beach that has property with an RV on it, am I allowed to drop my mother-in-law off there in that RV to live until further notice?
Yeah, I wonder if you'd say that if Kim was sitting next to you.
She's out there looking for places for her to live. I'm like, around here? What the hell happened? Okay. So the actual question, I had a mobile home in a mobile home park. My home was destroyed. It's been removed. How long can I have an RV on my lot while I go through the rebuilding process?
Well, right now it's 18 months through the town of Fort Myers Beach. If there is legislation out there, Senate Bill 250, if that gets signed by the governor, that would extend it to 36 months. So we would have to then follow that state legislation.
Okay, so
right now it's for sure 18 months. It can be revisited after that, but keep an eye on that bill. If that gets signed, there's language in that bill that states it's 36 months after the date of the storm. So it would be, I believe it's after the date of the storm.
If somebody had a mobile home in a private lot, I mean, I know it doesn't seem like there's any over in Red Coconut, but if somebody had one over there, you have to work that out with the owner of the property, right? That has nothing to do with the town, or does it?
Well, it's not just Red Coconut. There's another development, or there's another, I don't want to call it mobile home park, whatever it is, but it'd be, if you're standing on the Gulf looking at Red Coconut, it's on the left-hand side, on the back side over there. There's a separate section, and I'm guessing that the person that sent you that question is referring to that area there. That'd be my guess. I don't know for sure, but
that is private.
On Red Coconut, yes, they would have to seek the approval of the landowner.
Okay, so how do you feel like the town is financially right now?
Well, as good as we can be. The more people that get back in their houses, the more these values keep going up. That's going to definitely help. We're still in the unknown. We don't know how the tax roll is going to be affected yet for next year. as we've said all along, and I think every municipality in Lee County, including Lee County, has said next fiscal year is going to be our most challenging because it's the unknown. You know, what's going to get built, what are the values going to be. So we're trying to work through that. It looks like the trends are going to be less than what we had anticipated, meaning it's not going to be as bad, which is positive. You know, we've taken strides to make sure that we have things for operation. Hopefully we don't have to use them, you know, through that $11.9 million loan through the state that we received, through the FEMA money loan that we're going for. Things like that are going to have operational costs in there to keep the town moving. Again, hopefully we don't have to use those. And that's certainly what we're doing and what we're planning on, is trying to move forward and not have to use those loans. But right now we're really in an unknown. But to answer your question specifically, financially, we're fine. We're not going to be going bankrupt or anything. We're moving along. We're making the necessary decisions that we have to be as fiscally responsible as we can to make sure we get through what we know we're going to get through.
So the issue with the school and Lee County School Board, they got it all worked out. Everybody worked really hard on that, and you guys approved the ILA on Monday. There's one thing in the ILA that kind of caught my eye. Like, there's some kind of wordage in there that makes it sound like the town itself could be on the hook for something. It doesn't specify that. Obviously, if they don't get the cost per child down, the school district's going to walk away from that after 4 years. But how does is the town ever going to be financially responsible for a portion of the school?
Well, it's going to depend on a lot of factors. We've got 4 years to find out. You know, in 4 years, we're going to have to make a decision. I all the confidence, if we've learned anything, it's that we may be a small island, we may be a small community, but we're very vocal, we're very resilient, and we're very strong. And the parents came out and showed that. We showed a unity that I don't think we've seen in a very, very long time from this community, that the school is important. It is part of why we are a community. And I have no doubt that people that are going to continue to work on this, it's not over yet, as we said in the meeting, and the parents said in the meeting, it's not over yet. It's just begun. This is the first hurdle. Now we really have to work with our corporate partners. We have to work as hard as we can to get everyone involved and spread the word and show everyone why this school is so important and get that enrollment up, so that hopefully 2 years from now, we don't ever have to have this conversation again. We've shown we can do what we say we're going to do. And then, the school board can step in and continue as they have all along. I mean, that's the ideal goal, I would think, from everybody involved. So we'll keep pushing. The committee is going to work very hard. We've got a great person leading that, and Vice Mayor Adderholt. He's been the foreperson, the tip of the spear, if you will, on this whole thing, working with the ad hoc committee. And I've been working with the superintendent in the background. So it's been a good process. Every negotiation, you don't get everything you want, as we've said before, but we're at where we're at now, and now the hard work starts.
Right. I don't have any doubt that that group of people will get the numbers up and get the expenses down, and the school district will have to eat crow and build buildings, and that would be the greatest thing. I guess I'm asking if the taxpayers of Fort Myers Beach are not going to be on the hook for something, right? It has to do with the community working together for a charter school, if that's what's decided down the road. I just want the taxpayers to be clear that this all of a sudden, or maybe there is going to be some. How do you understand the community having to take over if it doesn't work out?
Well, essentially what it says is, after 4 years, if for some reason that cost per student does not get to the number that's feasible for everyone involved, then the town either has to take it over as a charter school or kick money in at some way, whether it's raising taxes, whether it's however that money comes from the town would then either have to step in and offset that difference to get that number down, or you have to go to a charter school. So that's 4 years down the road. I'm a pretty optimistic person. I don't see us ever having to get into those discussions. As we're trending forward, people are coming to the island, properties are selling, businesses are opening, development's happening. We're coming back. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I think we'll start to see those numbers go up as they expand enrollment. I've already seen emails going out about getting in contact with some of the parents that if you need to know more information or how to get a waiver, they'll send you waivers. So it's already started.
Yeah, and they're now allowed to, well, I don't know when now is, but the part of the plan is that you can, if you have kids all the way up to Summerlin, they can come to the beach school, elementary school.
That's my understanding. Yeah. And it's not just to show you how much people are paying attention. I got a nice message from the mayor of Sanibel today. Richard says, anything we can do to help, we know how important schools are to the community and we can do to help. So, the Barrier Islands stick together on things like this, and it's very important to do that. So it was a nice, encouraging thing to see that other people are paying attention to this, and that it's not just important to our community; it's important to Lee County as well.
Yeah, and Sanibel went through the same thing years ago, where they were close to losing their school and rallied around it and saved it. So it's not like it hasn't been done before. I think part, and I wrote about this morning. I think part of the issue was the school district stopped paying attention, and they really need to take some of the blame for that. Like, they let the cost get out of control. It's not like the parents let the cost get out of control at the beach school. I mean, that's their job to run the school. It's not the parents' job to run the school. They should have paid closer attention to it.
Well, a lot of things have happened. It's COVID, a little tiny thing called COVID had a big hit on the amount of kids that went to the school. So it's not something that I think it's a blame. It's a system. What am I trying to say? It's a circumstance. Of all the things that have happened since 2020, red tide, then you go, all these things have led to where we're at. So it's not about placing blame right now, in my opinion. Decision's been made. We're going to move forward. We're going to make sure that this works, and then we're never going to have to talk about it again.
So the last on that, the topic, the Bay Oaks, is that going to be ready?
Yeah, well, that's part of the interlocal agreement. So we're I believe I asked Jason in the meeting where we're at. They were having a meeting after the meeting on Monday to find out what else was needed for the fire department to finish their review of the permit. So I haven't had a chance to find out from Jason where that's at, but as soon as they get that, we've got the contractor already ready to go. It's just a matter of getting the proper paperwork that we need to get to the fire district for them to make their decision on the permit. And once that's issued, it'll be full speed ahead, and it's 3 months from then. So my hope is within the next couple of weeks, we can get whatever we need to have submitted to the fire district submitted so that they can do their process that they need to go through to either issue us a permit or tell us what else we need so we can get to that issuance of the permit, and then we will go full speed ahead.
Gotcha. So two last issues on the meeting Monday. For some reason, the Dune walkover permit came up for discussion, and I got a little confused because I didn't know why it would be coming up for discussion. They even Eddie and Kurt said they're not going to start building it until October. So what was going on there? It seemed like that John and Karen wanted to get that through to get the permit issued now, and then you guys, the other three, said, what's the rush? What was that all about? Why did that come up?
I have no idea. You'd have to ask Councilor Woodson. I don't know. I believe that was her item that she brought up. They can't start until, I believe it's in the requirements that they can't start through the other permits that were issued. They can't start during turtle season.
Right.
So, they can't. There's nothing they can do between now and then anyway.
Right. So if you issue the permit now, nothing can be done anyway. So I guess I don't understand why it was even brought up. But the other thing is the Audubon thing. That could actually might even be resolved by October. I mean, is that what the hope is? So I don't know if that it ever will be, because it's, from what I understand, the court could take forever to rule on whether or not this is even a case.
Yeah, I mean, this is a case that's been going on a long time. I don't expect a very quick outcome through the litigation process. And any litigation process seems to take a long time. But again, you'd have to ask Councilor Woodson why she brought it up. I don't know. John let us know or advised us that he didn't feel it was a good idea. Talked about the indemnification paperwork. You can have that ready to go. Should there be a need or a want or a will to sign that, so be it. And that essentially then would alleviate the town from any kind of litigation should they move forward with building it and something happened through the litigation with the Autobahn that says that they can't have it or whatever reason that would cover us. But again, you had said the applicants aren't in a hurry to start before October anyway, and they can't. So I didn't feel it was necessary to rush a permit out for something that hasn't been fully decided yet.
Right, and you're talking about a letter. Let's say we do get to October and the Audubon lawsuit is still going on. Then they rightly should have their permit because they're allowed to build it, and you guys did approve it. And so they get the permit, and then the Audubon, just to play that out, the Audubon wins, and the town and those guys lose, which I think is a long shot. But what do I know? They have to take it down. They have to take they would have to take whatever they built down, and the town is not liable for anything because they signed this letter or provided this letter, right?
Through the indemnification. That's what the way it was explained to us on Monday.
Gotcha. Okay, so the only other issue is are the town taxpayers getting their money's worth with the attorney, John Herron?
Well, you'd have to speak to every single resident.
I'm asking you. You're the
well,
mayor.
I've had my conversations with John before the storm. I was the one that voted not to renew the contract for reasons that I've discussed with John and continue to discuss with John. As a matter of fact, I spoke with him again about some of the things yesterday. I think John, he obviously knows what he's doing. He's very well versed, but for reasons that have been explained ad nauseum, it seems, over the last few months, is we're in an area where we need to have things quickly. We need to have, he's gonna follow the law. He's gonna advise us the way that he should, which every attorney should do and does.
Right.
But to answer, is the town getting its money's worth? I think that they're what their rates are very fair, and with the municipalities I've checked with, it's not out of line. The work that he's doing doesn't seem like it's out of line. I don't think this is a money issue. It's a for me personally, it's a timeliness issue, and I have been very vocal about it with John and in public, and he continues to try to get better.
Did he provide the town council with information enough in a timely manner when it came to Terry Prasad trying to settle the lawsuit with the town?
I guess, are you mean in the response from our shade meeting to get it back to?
Well, it seemed like Terry was trying to settle. I'm not saying that what he offered was fair. I'm just saying he's been trying to at least make it appear that he's trying to settle the lawsuit. And it seemed like that some of the council members were getting frustrated that John Herron wasn't answering him. He was just letting it drag on.
Well, there's a time that you have a certain amount of time that you have to answer. You have to respond to an offer. So he made an offer. We had our shade meeting, talked about the offer, gave our response to our attorney. Now he will give it to them within, I think it was 30 days he has to respond. And I believe John had mentioned in the meeting that they had, as of Monday, they had a mediation scheduled, which that would have been given to them. But I believe if they haven't received it today, that they're going to receive it tomorrow, I believe is what John said. Within 24 to 48 hours, they should have that. But they have a time that they have to respond by. So whether it's the first day or it's I'm not a legal person or a paralegal. I don't know what it takes to prepare that and have it typed up. It's a legal system. Doesn't seem like anything moves very quickly, but as long as it's done, my concern is as long as it's done within what is required under Florida statute, then they're doing their job. Nothing ever moves as fast as somebody that's
I hear you. I don't know what the real story is with that and with Terry and the whole thing, but Terry made it sound like there was a mediation plan for 2:00 Monday afternoon. And then, oh boy, John Herron gets a text or an email that says the mediation was canceled. Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like
it was rescheduled at the request of the mediator, not from
right at the same time. Right? I mean, right at the same time.
I wasn't on that email thread, so I don't know exactly when it came through, but
yeah. So now you guys, seriously, now you guys have an RFP or RFQ or whatever the hell the letters are, asking for submissions for attorneys to apply for the job. And
I want to answer Lori's question. I see. Yes, Lori, you are correct. Lori Jacobs, you're correct. That the town is being represented by the League of Cities. It's covered under insurance policy with the League of Cities.
Right. At the direction of John or at the direction of the council. They're communicating with each other. It's not like they don't talk to each other, right?
Oh yeah, no. John
Yeah.
is, John's obviously involved, but the person that's at the podium, if you will, is our Florida League of Cities.
Right. So, in the next, it seemed like again, John and Karen wanted Heron out yesterday. Like they wanted him to walk the plank on Monday, but there wasn't like when Roger walked the plank back in when you guys got elected that you had Jim Steele in the audience. He could just step up and become the town manager for a week. It's not like you had an attorney sitting in the audience that could actually sit in there. So. I mean, that failed 3-2 because, you do need legal representation until the certain time where you hire a new one or you don't, or you keep John.
Yeah. And, that was my thinking and my decision is I don't think you needed to, we didn't have anybody there. I know that Keith had mentioned that there was an interim firm that he had spoken to that would be willing to help with doing the, finding a potentially new or the same, going through the process of the RFP of finding counsel or working with the same counsel, depending on who applies to the RFP or responds to the RFP. But that's far different than. But I think Keith did say that they were willing to do it temporarily for that.
Yeah.
And if you don't have legal counsel and for some reason either no one replies to the RFP or no one is liked on the RFP or isn't qualified. Now you're stuck with a firm that isn't part of the long-term solution, doesn't want to be part of the long-term solution, and where do you go from there? Then now you're in a spot. So, the RFP is out, the RFP is out. I believe it's the 22nd. I believe, if memory serves me, when the submissions are due by. So I mean, we're not far off. I didn't feel it was necessary to make a decision without knowing where we're going to be in 2 weeks.
I'm certainly not a John Heron fan. I think he's part of the whole Roger Ray regime and needs to go. But what do I know? I don't even live down there. So, but I thought, why would you put a third party company in there for like 4 weeks? And they're not going to be the permanent attorneys. They were hired specifically to help you guys hire a new attorney, if there's going to be a new attorney. And the other thing that's interesting is it sounds to me like John's even thinking about resubmitting, like putting in his application. Like, can he see that he's got no chance to be the town attorney? I mean, I would, if you voted for him to be the town attorney, I'd be shocked because you brought it up first. Right?
I didn't. Well, you mean I didn't bring it up first?
No, way back before, the day. Back in the day.
Yeah, at his contract.
Yeah,
his contract. Yeah, it's a who knows where it's going to go. I mean, it's open
it's
bid.
Totally awkward.
It's and John belongs to a firm. It's not just John. So is it John that applies? Is it his firm, or doesn't apply? Is it his firm? We don't know. We won't know until we find out the results of the RFP.
Right. All right. Enough of the uncomfortableness with that. Did we miss anything that you wanted to bring up that you want everybody to know about? Does anyone have any questions? I didn't see any questions there, so you must have answered them all quickly. But did you have anything on your list there?
No, nothing. Tomorrow is a memorial event, a fall memorial event for the Lee County Sheriff's Office that I'll be attending. So that's always a somber thing, but it's a reminder of people that work very hard to keep you protected. So keep them all in your thoughts and prayers, and so that's tomorrow. We have a couple other things coming up. I can't remember what the name of it is off the top of my head, but Florida League Cities be coming to town. So John is going to be hopefully being appointed. Secretary. The voting member, but hopefully he'll get appointed to be the secretary. It's nice that we haven't been represented with the Florida League of Cities for quite a while. It's an important organization to be involved with. There's a lot of networking that happens, a lot of information that comes out of that organization. So I'm really excited that we're getting involved in that again, and hoping for good things to come out of that.
Gotcha. All right, Dan, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for being in the race on Saturday. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you in a week.
You got it. Have a good night, everyone.
All right. Mayor Dan Allers, everybody, under the name of Still Sore from the race last Saturday. And again, if you were trying to donate a fishing pole on our Amazon wish list that we sent out on the Facebook page, there was a problem with the blue color. I think it was the blue color. Anyway, let me make sure so I can tell you which one, because we want to make sure we get all the fishing poles for the kids. The blue is good. The red, there was something wrong with the red. So you can go back on the wish list now. And Jessica, who's our Amazon wish list star, she fixed the list, and now you can order another blue one. So we're trying to get all the fishing poles for the folks for the kids at the Bay Oaks camp and the Mound House that Jeff is organizing for the summer. So the kids have an awesome summer camp. So you can go back on that wish list there. And also, I wanted to let you know that a portion of our show today, our award-winning show, so it's sponsored by Valerie's Lounge and Liquors. And you can join Valerie's every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday afternoon for cash bingo with progressive jackpots and drink specials. They have trivia at the bar on Wednesday. The local band Flying Hasselhoffs plays every Thursday evening. I've never heard the Flying Hasselhoffs. I've heard of David Hasselhoff, and I've seen him fly around in a car. Does anyone remember the name of the car in the TV show that David Hasselhoff was in? The Queen of Hearts game is on Wednesday, benefiting a local charity. They have darts and pool and tournaments for each. They have a fully stocked liquor store with lottery and scratch-off tickets. That's right, Sandra. Sandra from Canada. Right, Sandra? It is Kim. You guys are so smart out there. It's good to have a smart audience and a dumb host. It's just the perfect mix. And finally, one of our longest sponsors, Jorge Barrera. He is pleased to share with you, as I am pleased to share with you, that he was recently named Premier Plus Realty's #1 individual agent in Lee County and #4 in the entire company out of 1,500 people. That's 1,500 real estate agents for 2022. He's the #1 top producer agent in Lee County and #4 individual agent in the entire company out of 1,500 agents. You can check out Jorge's 5-star Zillow reviews from satisfied clients where they mention in detail their positive experience with Jorge as their realtor. And he, of course, pledges to donate 10% of his commissions until the year 2025. For keeping score at home, that's 2 years from now. And so that is pretty cool. You can see him at Buttonwood, which is where we donated all of the proceeds from the race on Saturday, $11,000 from the 5K day before Mother's Day 5K, which we're going to make an annual event for sure. We're already talking about expanding it with a 10K. Just run down the beach a little more, make another turnaround down so you can see more of the beach. Yes, that'll be day before Mother's Day 2024. We're back at Wahoo Willie's on Saturday. I hear the dogs barking. It must mean the wife is home. And please, nobody tell her what I said about her mom earlier in the show. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for coming to the race. And thank you to Dan for episode number 23 of Mondays with the Mayor. See you soon. Bye-bye.